In the quiet expanse of existence, there is a question that hums softly at the edges of thought, a question that drifts like a breeze through the corridors of imagination. What if Earth was not only a home, not only a planet suspended in the fabric of space, but something far more mysterious? What if Earth itself was a test? Not a test in the rigid sense of examination, but a gentle unfolding, a cosmic experience, a journey that asks more than it answers, guiding those who wander its surface through lessons hidden in the soil, in the rivers, in the stars above. As you settle deeper into comfort, imagine drifting away from the surface of Earth for a moment. See it from afar, a blue and green sphere wrapped in clouds, turning ever so slowly against the velvet black of space. From this vantage, the planet appears delicate, like a fragile pearl resting in the palm of eternity. And yet, within its surface, within its oceans and mountains, there is a richness of story, a quiet unfolding of meaning. If Earth was a test, then every wave, every grain of sand, every sunrise, and every passing shadow might be part of a curriculum, not written in books, but woven into the very breath of life itself. Imagine yourself moving closer again, gently descending into the atmosphere, drifting downward through clouds tinged with gold by the sun. You land softly in a vast meadow, where the grass sways as though it remembers secrets older than memory. Here, the air is still, carrying the faint fragrance of earth and flowers. Each sound is softened, each detail unfolds with ease. In such a place it feels natural to wonder what if the test is not about right or wrong, but about noticing, about feeling, about learning to listen to the quiet voice beneath the noise. Perhaps the rivers are teachers, flowing ceaselessly from mountains, to sea, whispering about patience, persistence, and the art of movement. Their waters carve valleys, sustain forests, and nourish life in ways unseen. To watch a river is to be reminded that progress need not be rushed, that the path can wind and bend, and yet always find its way. If Earth is a test, then perhaps each river is a question asking, can we learn to move forward with grace, without force, trusting the journey to carry us exactly where we need to be? As you breathe slowly and evenly, picture yourself by the edge of such a river. The water is clear, reflecting the sky in ripples that stretch like silver threads. You listen, and in the flowing sound there is a rhythm, steady and soothing, like a heartbeat that belongs not to you alone, but to the entire planet. Maybe the test is in remembering that we are part of that rhythm, that the pulse of Earth is also the pulse within us. And what of the forests, the endless stretches of green that rise and fall across continents? Each tree stands silently, yet speaks in ways we often do not hear. Their roots intertwine, their leaves reach toward light, their trunks hold centuries of memory in rings unseen. If this world is a test, then perhaps the trees are lessons in patience, in endurance, in the quiet dignity of growth. They do not rush to reach the sky, yet they rise all the same, slowly, steadily, as seasons turn. Perhaps the test is to see if we can learn to grow without comparison, to stand tall in our own time, to provide shade and shelter without demanding recognition. The animals, too, may play their part in this quiet curriculum. Each creature, from the smallest insect to the great whales that move through the ocean's depths, carries with it a story. The bird that migrates across thousands of miles, guided only by the stars and the pull of instinct, asks us to trust. In unseen maps, the wolf that howls beneath the moon reminds us of the bonds of family, of loyalty and connection. The butterfly that emerges from the cocoon offers the lesson of transformation, of becoming something new after a long stillness. If Earth is a test, perhaps it is one of empathy, of whether we can look into the lives of others and see ourselves reflected, whether we can honor the many forms of life that share this journey with us. As you listen, feel your body sinking deeper into calm, as though Earth itself is cradling you. The ground beneath your imagination is soft, steady, reassuring. Time here does not hurry. The sun drifts slowly, clouds stretch lazily, and everything feels suspended in balance. Within this balance, another thought arises: what if the test is not about achieving, but about noticing the wonder in what already exists? Consider the mountains, their peaks etched against the sky. They've stood for ages, silent witnesses to countless dawns and dusks. To climb them is difficult, yet to simply see them is to be reminded of strength, of stability, of resilience. The mountains may not demand that we conquer them, but perhaps they ask whether we can appreciate their majesty. whether we can stand at their base and feel humility, recognizing the small but significant place we hold in the greater whole. And then, the oceans, vast and unfathomable. They cover most of Earth, yet their depths remain mysterious, unexplored. They rise and fall with the pull of the moon, as though breathing in rhythm with the cosmos. To sit at the edge of the ocean is to be humbled by its vastness, to be lulled by the endless sound of waves arriving and departing. If the Earth is a test, then perhaps the ocean asks us about surrender. Can we accept that not everything can be known, that mystery itself is a gift, that sometimes the lesson lies in letting go and trusting the tides? Slowly, your mind drifts across these images, each one soft and luminous, as though woven from a dream. The stars begin to appear above, faint at first, then brighter, scattered across the night like silver dust. They remind us that Earth is not alone, that beyond its skies lie countless other worlds, countless other possibilities. And in this awareness, another thought unfolds. If Earth is a test, perhaps it is also a bridge, a stepping stone in a greater journey, teaching us not only about ourselves, but about how to walk among the stars with gentleness and wisdom. Night deepens, crickets sing softly in the grass. A breeze moves gently across the land, carrying with it the scent of pine and earth. The sky turns darker still, and in its depths the Milky Way stretches in a river of light. Looking upward, one might wonder whether beings from other corners of the cosmos look upon Earth with curiosity, whether they too see this planet as a place of learning, a school of the soul. Perhaps they watch with kindness, waiting to see what we will make of the lessons before us. And as you rest, you too are part of this unfolding. Each breath you take, each thought you hold, each quiet moment of reflection is part of the story of Earth. If this is a test, then it is not one that punishes, but one that invites you to notice the softness of the night, the comfort of stillness, the miracle of simply being here. And so the journey continues, stretching gently across the fabric of thought, like a path unrolling through a quiet valley. The question lingers softly, like the glow of the moon through a veil of mist. If Earth is a test, it is not one of urgency or pressure, but one that unfolds at the pace of rivers, of forests, of the turning seasons. It is a test that waits patiently, that does not rush the learner, that allows every life to move in its own rhythm, in its own time. Imagine walking along a coastline, where sand stretches endlessly in both directions. Each grain of sand has been shaped by time, by wind, by water, until it has become smooth, small, and silent. As the waves rise and retreat, they pull patterns across the shore, erasing footsteps, drawing new lines, reminding us that all things change and all things return. If this Earth is a test, then perhaps the shoreline itself is a question, asking whether we can accept impermanence, whether we can love without clinging, whether we can walk knowing that each step is both temporary and eternal. You pause to listen, to breathe, to let the sound of the ocean sink into your being. The steady rhythm of waves becomes like the rhythm of your breath, an ebb and flow that is both outside of you and within you. And in that rhythm lies peace, a reminder that the lessons of Earth are not harsh but gentle, not loud but subtle, waiting for those who slow down enough to hear. Far away, across the land, the desert spreads in vast stretches of golden sand. Here, the silence is deep, profound, almost otherworldly. The wind moves lightly, shaping dunes that seem to shift and breathe with time itself. To stand in the desert is to feel both small and infinite, surrounded by nothing, yet embraced by everything. If the Earth is a test, perhaps the desert asks us to learn stillness, to sit with emptiness, to understand that in the absence of distractions, the self begins to speak more clearly. The stars above the desert shine brighter than anywhere else, reminding us that even in the deepest solitude, we are never truly alone. As the night deepens, picture yourself beneath those desert stars, lying on the cool sand. Above you, constellations stretch across the sky, forming patterns that have guided travelers for millennia. Every culture has looked upward and seen stories written in the heavens, stories of hunters, of lovers, of gods and heroes. But beyond the stories, beyond the myths, the stars themselves whisper of infinity. They remind us that Earth is but a single chapter in a much larger book, that perhaps the test here is only the beginning of a longer journey across the endless cosmos. The thought drifts away, gentle as a feather on the wind, and you find yourself in another place. A quiet village nestled among rolling hills, where lanterns glow warmly in the windows and smoke rises softly from chimneys. Life here moves slowly, in harmony with the turning of the sun. People greet one another with kindness, share their harvest, tend their gardens, and watch the cycles of the moon with reverence. Perhaps this too is part of the test, not in the grandness of mountains or the vastness of oceans, but in the simplicity of everyday living. Can we learn to live gently, to treat one another with care, to see beauty in the ordinary moments that pass unnoticed? As the village sleeps, a dog curls beside the fire, and an old clock ticks softly in the corner. Time itself seems to slow, each moment stretching into calm eternity. And in this slowness comes clarity, the realization that Earth's lessons are not hidden in distant places, but present everywhere, even in the quiet ticking of a clock, the flicker of a candle, the beating of a heart. Beyond the village, the seasons turn. Winter drapes the land in white, teaching us the value of rest, of silence, of patience. Spring follows with blossoms and renewal, reminding us of beginnings, of hope, of the resilience of life. Summer arrives with warmth and abundance, a season of growth and joy. And then autumn, with its falling leaves, teaches us about release, about letting go, about the beauty of change. Each season is a chapter, each season a question. If Earth is a test, perhaps the seasons ask whether we can flow with change, whether we can accept that nothing lasts forever, and yet everything returns in one form or another. As your mind drifts gently across these cycles, your body relaxes further, sinking deeper into stillness. You breathe more slowly, more peacefully, as though in harmony with the rhythm of Earth itself. The weight of time, of worry, of thought begins to lift, leaving only presence, only the soft glow of awareness. Now imagine standing at the edge of a forest at dawn. The mist lingers between the trees, and the world feels quiet, expectant, as though holding its breath. A bird begins to sing, then another, until the air is filled with a gentle chorus. The sun rises slowly, its golden light filtering through, branches scattering into beams of warmth and light. In this moment, the forest feels alive, not only with creatures and plants, but with something deeper, something unseen. If Earth is a test, perhaps dawn itself is a question. Can we recognize beginnings? Can we honor the gift of a new day? Can we carry gratitude into the light? You walk deeper into the forest. The ground is soft with leaves, the air filled with the scent of pine and soil. Sunlight dances on streams, where fish dart between shadows. Every step reveals something new: a fallen branch, a patch of mushrooms, a spider's web glistening with dew. And yet, none of it asks for attention. None of it demands recognition. It simply exists, quietly, patiently, beautifully. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the lesson here is presence, the art of noticing the small wonders that surround us, the details so easily overlooked in the rush of life. Deeper still, you find a clearing where a great tree stands, older than centuries, its branches vast, its trunk strong. Sitting beneath it, you feel its energy, calm and enduring, as though it has watched countless lives pass, countless seasons turn. The tree does not speak, yet its silence carries wisdom. It has weathered storms, fires, winters, and droughts, yet it stands still, offering shelter to birds, to insects, to travelers. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the tree asks us to embody resilience, to give without expectation, to endure with patience, to stand firm in the face of time. The day drifts onward, the forest alive with quiet motion. Squirrels leap from branch to branch, streams trickle with steady song, leaves rustle in the wind. And yet, amidst the busyness of life, the atmosphere remains calm, peaceful, balanced. This balance may be part of the test, to learn how to move within the world without disturbing its harmony, to find our place among the countless beings that share this planet with us. Evening falls again, and the sky turns shades of gold, then crimson, then violet. The first stars appear, reminding you once more of the infinite beyond. But here, beneath the sky, the earth continues its gentle turning, offering lessons, offering questions, offering presence. And as night wraps its arms around the world once more, you feel safe, calm, and deeply connected to the vast mystery of it all. The thought drifts away, gentle as a feather on the wind, and you find yourself in another place. A quiet village nestled among rolling hills, where lanterns glow warmly in the windows and smoke rises softly from chimneys. Life here moves slowly, in harmony with the turning of the sun. People greet one another with kindness, share their harvest, tend their gardens, and watch the cycles of the moon with reverence. Perhaps this, too, is part of the test, not in the grandness of mountains or the vastness of oceans, but in the simplicity of everyday living. Can we learn to live gently, to treat one another with care, to see beauty in the ordinary moments that pass unnoticed? As the village sleeps, a dog curls beside the fire, and an old clock ticks softly in the corner. Time itself seems to slow, each moment stretching into calm eternity. And in this slowness comes clarity, the realization that Earth's lessons are not hidden in distant places, but present everywhere. Even in the quiet ticking of a clock, the flicker of a candle, the beating of a heart. Beyond the village, the seasons turn. Winter drapes the land in white, teaching us the value of rest, of silence, of patience. Spring follows with blossoms and renewal, reminding us of beginnings, of hope, of the resilience of life. Summer arrives with warmth and abundance, a season of growth and joy. And then autumn, with its falling leaves, teaches us about release, about letting go, about the beauty of change. Each season is a chapter, each season a question. If Earth is a test, perhaps the seasons ask whether we can flow with change, whether we can accept that nothing lasts forever, and yet everything returns in one form or another. That's your mind drifts gently across these cycles. Your body relaxes further, sinking deeper into stillness. You breathe more slowly, more peacefully, as though in harmony with the rhythm of Earth itself. The weight of time, of worry, of thought begins to lift, leaving only presence, only the soft glow of awareness. Now imagine standing at the edge of a forest at dawn. The mist lingers between the trees, and the world feels quiet, expectant, as though holding its breath. A bird begins to sing, then another, until the air is filled with a gentle chorus. The sun rises slowly, its golden light filtering through branches, scattering into beams of warmth and light. In this moment, the forest feels alive, not only with creatures and plants, but with something deeper, something unseen. If Earth is a test, perhaps dawn itself is a question. Can we recognize beginnings? Can we honor the gift of a new day? Can we carry gratitude into the light? You walk deeper into the forest. The ground is soft with leaves, the air filled with the scent of pine and soil. Sunlight dances on streams, where fish dart between shadows. Every step reveals something new, a fallen branch, a patch of mushrooms, a spider's web glistening with dew. And yet, none of it asks for attention. None of it demands recognition. It simply exists, quietly, patiently, beautifully. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the lesson here is presence. The art of noticing the small wonders that surround us, the details so easily overlooked in the rush of life. Deeper still, you find a clearing where a great tree stands, older than centuries, its branches vast, its trunk strong. Sitting beneath it, you feel its energy, calm and enduring, as though it has watched countless lives pass, countless seasons turn. The tree does not speak, yet its silence carries wisdom. It has weathered storms, fires, winters, and droughts, yet it stands still, offering shelter to birds, to insects, to travelers. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the tree asks us to embody resilience, to give without expectation, to endure with patience, to stand firm in the face of time. The day drifts onward, the forest alive with quiet motion. Squirrels leap from branch to branch, streams trickle with steady song, leaves rustle in the wind. And yet, amidst the busyness of life, the atmosphere remains calm, peaceful, balanced. This balance, too, may be part of the test, to learn how to move within the world without disturbing its harmony, to find our place among the countless beings that share this planet with us. Evening falls again, and the sky turns shades of gold, then crimson, then violet. The first stars appear, reminding you once more of the infinite beyond. But here, beneath the sky, the earth continues its gentle turning, offering lessons, offering questions, offering presence. And as night wraps its arms around the world once more, you feel safe, calm, and deeply connected to the vast mystery of it all. The night stretches on, and with it the quiet song of the world continues. Somewhere far away, the ocean breathes. Against the shore, waves rolling and folding endlessly, as though counting the timeless rhythm of existence. In another place, snow falls lightly on mountain peaks, each flake unique, each one a moment of fleeting beauty. Across the plains, winds move through tall grasses, creating patterns that ripple like the surface of a great sea. And above it all, the stars remain, steady and eternal, a canvas of light scattered across infinity. If Earth is a test, then perhaps its greatest lesson is not found in the noise of achievement, but in the silence of observation. To sit in stillness and notice the sound of your own breath, the beating of your heart, the gentle pulse of life flowing through every being. This might be the essence of what it means to learn here. For in the quiet, in the simplicity of being, we discover that life itself is enough, that existence is a miracle, that each moment, no matter how small, holds immeasurable depth. Imagine now that you are walking along a mountain path. The stones beneath your feet are cool, and the air is crisp with the scent of pine. The path winds steadily upward, leading you toward a peak that seems distant but welcoming. With each step, the world around you grows quieter, the noise of thought fading into the rhythm of your breath, the steady beat of your heart, the sound of wind moving through the trees. Higher and higher you go, until the forest falls away, and the sky opens above you an endless blue dot. At last, you reach a clearing near the summit. From here, the view stretches far into the distance. Valleys roll below you, rivers glint like threads of silver, and far-off hills dissolve into haze. Standing in such a place, it is impossible not to feel the immensity of the world, the vastness of creation, the delicate beauty of Earth. If this planet is a test, then perhaps the mountains themselves are asking whether we can feel awe, whether we can allow humility to soften us, whether we can carry gratitude for the gift of being alive amidst such wonder. As you stand there, the wind carries with it a sense of timelessness, as though the mountain has stood for ages and will stand for ages more. You realize that your presence here is but a brief moment in its long story, and yet, in this moment, you are part of that story. This, too, may be part of the test, to recognize that our lives, fleeting as they are, still matter, still ripple outward in ways unseen, still contribute to the greater whole. You sit upon a stone and close your eyes, letting the stillness wash over you. In the silence, you begin to feel connected not only to the mountain, but to the entire earth, to the rivers that flow, the forests that breathe, the oceans that rise and fall, the creatures that move, the winds that circle the globe. The earth feels alive, conscious in its own way, carrying within it a quiet wisdom that speaks without words. If Earth is a test, perhaps it is less about proving ourselves and more about remembering this connection, about rediscovering the unity that binds all life together. Slowly, the sun begins to set. The sky turns shades of amber, then crimson, then soft violet. Shadows stretch across the valleys, and stars begin to appear, one by one, until the sky is filled with countless lights. As night falls, the mountain becomes still, wrapped in darkness. While the heavens glow above, you lie back upon the stone, gazing upward, and feel yourself drift into the rhythm of the cosmos. The stars seem to pulse gently, like lanterns guiding travelers across the infinite. Perhaps you wonder, Earth is not only a test for those who walk upon it, but also a beacon to those who watch from afar. Perhaps civilizations in distant galaxies look upon this small blue world with curiosity, waiting to see how its inhabitants will grow, what they will learn, how they will carry the lessons of this planet into the greater expanse of the universe. If Earth is a test, then perhaps it is also a story being read by unseen eyes, a chapter in the larger book of creation. The thought drifts away, leaving behind only calm. The night deepens, and you feel yourself sinking into stillness, into safety, into the gentle embrace of sleep itself. Yet even as you rest, the earth continues to turn, offering its lessons, whispering its questions, holding you in its quiet care. Somewhere, a river continues to flow, its waters glistening beneath the moonlight. In another place, owls call softly through the trees, their wings silent as they glide through the darkness. The desert cools beneath the stars, while the ocean rocks gently against the shore. Life moves onward, steady and patient, like the beating of a great heart that encompasses all things. And in this endless rhythm, you are held. You are part of the flow, part of the cycle, part of the story. The earth asks nothing harsh of you, only that you notice, that you feel, that you exist in harmony with what is already here. If Earth is a test, it is a test of being, of remembering, of loving the world as it is. Slowly, you drift further into relaxation. The edges of thought grow softer, the world around you more luminous, more dreamlike. You feel yourself floating, as though carried by the earth itself, gently rocked into peace. The night stretches on, calm and eternal, and you surrender to its embrace. The earth turns quietly beneath the stars, its surface bathed in moonlight and shadow. Somewhere far above, meteors pass silently through the night sky, streaks of light that appear for only a moment and then fade into darkness. Each one a brief visitor, a reminder that even fleeting things hold beauty. Even short-lived sparks are part of the great story. If Earth is a test, then perhaps these falling stars are gentle questions. Can we find wonder in what is temporary? Can we cherish moments without needing them to last forever? Imagine yourself standing on a hilltop, the night sky stretching endlessly above. The grass beneath you sways in the cool breeze, and the horizon glows faintly with the last memory of the sun. The stars grow brighter as the sky deepens, and soon the Milky Way appears like a river of light flowing across the heavens. To gaze upon it is to feel both small and infinite, both fragile and eternal. In that moment, you understand that Earth itself is part of a greater pattern, one thread in a vast tapestry woven across space and time. You close your eyes and feel the presence of the universe around you, immense yet gentle, powerful yet serene. The Earth cradles you, its gravity holding you steady, while the stars remind you that you are never separate, always part of something more. If this is a test, perhaps it is about remembering your place within the whole, not as ruler, not as stranger, but as participant, as companion, as family to all that exists. Far away, the deep ocean stirs. Beneath its surface, in the twilight waters, creatures move slowly, their bodies glowing with light. Bioluminescent fish drift like lanterns in the darkness, pulsing gently, turning the ocean into a dream of stars beneath the sea. Whales sing to one another across vast distances, their voices carrying through the water like ancient hymns. In their presence, the ocean feels like a cathedral, a place of reverence and mystery. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the ocean's depths ask whether we can honor the unknown, whether we can respect the mysteries we cannot yet understand, whether we can love what lies beyond our sight. You imagine yourself floating in that ocean, weightless, surrounded by shimmering light and gentle currents. The water holds you, lifts you, rocks you, as though you are part of its eternal rhythm. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the slow dance of tides, the soft glow of life in the darkness, the deep and soothing sound of the Earth's heartbeat. Beneath the waves, beyond the oceans, across the lands, the winds wander freely. They pass through deserts, carrying whispers of sand. They cross mountains, weaving through canyons and valleys. They brush the surface of lakes, rippling the waters into delicate patterns, invisible yet ever present. The winds connect all places, moving without boundaries, without walls. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the winds are lessons in freedom, teaching us that life is not meant to be confined, that the soul longs to move, to explore, to flow where it is carried. The winds travel further still, carrying seeds from one place to another, tiny, fragile, almost weightless. These seeds drift across great distances until they find soil, where they root, grow, and rise into new life. This, too, may be part of the test, to see if we understand how small acts, carried forward, can grow into something vast and enduring. A single seed becomes a tree, a single tree becomes a forest, and a forest can change the air we breathe. Perhaps the Earth is teaching us that what we do, no matter how small, matters far more than we imagine. You wander now into a meadow filled with wildflowers. They bloom in every color, bending gently in the breeze, their fragrance light and sweet. Bees move from flower to flower, collecting nectar, carrying pollen, keeping the rhythm of life alive. Butterflies drift lazily, their wings painted with patterns too intricate for words. This meadow feels like a dream, a place of pure simplicity and joy. If Earth is a test, perhaps flowers are gentle reminders to pause, to appreciate beauty for its own sake, to find joy in color, in fragrance, in the simple act of being alive. As you breathe deeply, the meadow fades into twilight, and fireflies begin to appear. Their glow flickers softly in the dark. Like small stars brought down to earth, they blink and fade, drift and shine, turning the meadow into a constellation of light. Watching them, you feel a sense of peace, of magic, of wonder that needs no explanation. Perhaps this too is part of the test, to remember that not everything needs to be understood, that mystery itself is beautiful, that some things are meant to simply be experienced and cherished. The night deepens, and the world around you grows quieter still. A river murmurs softly nearby, its voice blending with the whispers of wind and the songs of crickets. Above, the moon glows in silver silence, casting shadows that move gently across the land. You walk along the riverbank, listening to its flow, feeling its calm presence beside you. In its waters you see reflections, the stars, the trees, yourself. The river holds it all, carrying reflections just as it carries leaves, pebbles, and droplets of rain. Perhaps the river is asking whether we can reflect, too, whether we can carry within us the images of love, of kindness, of peace, and let them ripple outward into the world, step by step. You follow the river, and it leads you into a valley where the earth is rich and green. Gardens grow here, filled with fruits and vegetables, nourished by the soil and the care of human hands. The people tending them move with patience and dedication, planting, watering, harvesting, sharing. Their work is slow and steady, their joy simple and genuine. If earth is a test, perhaps the garden is asking whether we can live in harmony with what is given, whether we can nurture rather than take, whether we can find fulfillment in caring for life rather than controlling it. As the valley rests beneath the stars, the sense of harmony deepens. The air feels alive with presence, as though unseen hands hold the world in balance. Insects hum softly in the grass, owls call gently in the distance, and the earth itself breathes beneath your feet. Everything is connected, everything flows. Together, everything belongs. This unity, this interwoven fabric of existence, may be the greatest lesson of all. Perhaps earth is not a test we pass alone, but one we can only pass together, in recognition of the bonds that connect us to one another, to all life, to the planet itself. You pause, breathing in this truth, letting it sink into your heart. The world feels softer, gentler, more forgiving. Each breath carries you deeper into rest. Each moment brings you closer to stillness. Each thought dissolves into the quiet hum of existence. The valley rests in stillness, its beauty wrapped in the silver glow of the moon. You wander further, guided not by urgency, but by the soft pull of curiosity, as though the earth itself is showing you what it wishes to reveal. The path leads you into rolling hills, where tall grasses sway like waves in the ocean. The wind brushes through them, creating patterns that ripple and shift in endless motion. Watching the grass bend and rise again, you realize that life itself is resilient, always returning, always adapting, always moving with the currents of change. If earth is a test, then perhaps the grasses ask us whether we can bend without breaking, whether we can move with life instead of resisting it, whether we can find strength in our flexibility. The hills lead into a wide plain beneath a sky filled with stars. The air is cool, and the vastness stretches in every direction. The land seems endless, and in that endlessness you feel a kind of freedom, as though nothing confines you, as though the world is open, waiting, infinite. To stand in such a place is to understand that the boundaries we imagine are not truly there, that the earth belongs not to divisions but to unity. Perhaps this is another part of the test, to see whether we can look beyond the lines we draw and realize that everything is one continuous whole, a single breath of creation moving through countless forms. As you walk across the plain, the sound of drums begins to rise faintly in the distance. You follow it, slowly, until you come upon a circle of people gathered around a fire. They dance gently, their movements in harmony with the rhythm of the drums, their shadows flickering in the firelight. The music is steady, calming, ancient, as though echoing from a time long before memory. The fire crackles softly, sending sparks upward into the night, where they fade among the stars. To sit with these people is to feel connected not only to them, but to all who came before, to ancestors who looked upon this same sky, who danced around fires, who sang to the earth. If earth is a test, perhaps these fireside gatherings ask us to remember, to carry forward the wisdom of those who came before, to honor their stories, to live in ways that keep their songs alive. The fire fades in your vision, and the plains dissolve into another place. Now you are standing beside an ancient stone structure, built by hands long gone, standing silent yet enduring. The stones are weathered but strong, aligned with the stars in ways that speak of deep knowledge, deep connection. The builders are no longer here, but their work remains, a message left in stone, a reminder of the search for meaning, of the desire to reach beyond the earth and touch the infinite. If Earth is a test, perhaps the ruins of the past are questions left behind, asking whether we will listen to the voices of history, whether we will learn from what has come before, whether we will carry wisdom instead of forgetting it. The stones glow faintly under the starlight, and you realize that even silence holds meaning, that even emptiness speaks. You sit among the stones and breathe deeply, feeling the weight of time around you, yet also feeling light, as though the centuries dissolve into this single moment of stillness. The earth does not hurry, and neither must you. The lessons wait, patiently, like stars in the night sky, shining steadily whether or not we notice them. From the ruins, you travel further in thought, carried gently by the flow of imagination. You find yourself in a rainforest, where the air is thick with moisture, alive with sound. The canopy above is dense, sunlight filtering through in shifting beams. Birds of every color flash between the trees, their calls echoing through the forest. Insects hum, monkeys swing from branches, and the earth beneath your feet is rich with life. Everywhere you look, something grows, something moves, something breathes. The rainforest is a world within a world, a reminder of the abundance of life, of the endless creativity of nature. If Earth is a test, then perhaps the rainforest is asking whether we can live with abundance without greed, whether we can honor the richness of life without destroying it, whether we can remember that this planet provides more than enough if we live with care. The forest hums around you, its rhythm steady and endless. You sit by a pool where water gathers from a small stream, and you listen to the sounds, the trickle of water, the calls of birds, the rustle of leaves. In their harmony, you hear the voice of the earth itself, not speaking in words, but in presence, in rhythm, in life. You breathe slowly, in time with the forest, and feel yourself become part of it, as though your heartbeat joins the heartbeat of the world. As the rainforest fades into dream, you find yourself in a tundra, vast and quiet, where the ground is frozen and the air is crisp. Snow stretches in every direction, sparkling under the moonlight. The silence here is profound, deeper than any other, a silence that feels endless, eternal. In this stillness, there is no distraction, no noise, only the pure presence of being. If Earth is a test, perhaps the tundra is asking whether we can find peace in silence, whether we can learn to rest in emptiness, whether we can understand that life does not always need to be filled with sound and motion. You lie down upon the snow, the cold softened by the dreamlike calm, and you look up at the northern lights dancing across the sky. Colors ripple and flow, green, violet, gold, shifting in waves that move like music through the heavens. The beauty is beyond description, beyond thought, beyond measure. Watching the lights, you realize that Earth offers moments of pure wonder, gifts that ask nothing in return but presence, moments that invite us to simply see, to simply feel, to simply be. The lights continue their dance, and your heart slows to match their rhythm. The test, you realize, is not about success or failure, not about judgment or comparison. It is about presence, about love, about connection. It is about noticing the rivers, the mountains, the forests, the stars, and remembering that they are part of you, just as you are part of them. It is about remembering that the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. As these thoughts settle softly into you, the night deepens further. Somewhere, a wolf howls, its voice carrying across the frozen land, a song of longing, of belonging, of connection. You listen, and in the sound you hear not loneliness, but unity. A call that binds the wolf to the pack to the land to the sky. Everything is connected, everything is one. The howl fades into silence, and you drift further inward, deeper into stillness, into rest. The earth continues to turn, offering its lessons, holding you in its embrace, asking only that you notice, only that you feel, only that you love. And as sleep comes, as the edges of thought dissolve, you are reminded once more that the earth is gentle, patient, infinite. If it is a test, it is one without fear, one without punishment, one designed only to teach, to guide, to nurture. It is a test written in rivers and stars, in winds and oceans, in the quiet beating of your own heart. You are part of that story, part of that test, part of this infinite unfolding. And as you rest, the earth continues to hold you, gently, endlessly, with love. The earth turns quietly beneath the great expanse of stars. its steady rotation carrying oceans and mountains, forests and deserts, rivers and plains. Through the gentle rhythm of day and night, it has always turned this way, unhurried, balanced, patient. For countless ages it has spun, offering every living thing the gift of light and shadow, of rest and renewal. If this world is a test, perhaps the test is written into this turning itself, the way night always follows day and day always returns again, reminding us that all things are cycles, that endings are not final, but simply new beginnings waiting to be born. You imagine yourself standing on a quiet shoreline, where dawn is just beginning to stretch across the horizon. The sea before you breathes in long, soft waves, each one arriving with a hush and retreating with a whisper, as though the ocean itself is speaking in a language older than words. The first light gathers at the edge of the sky, a pale glow spreading upward, softening the darkness into gentle colors of blue and rose. You stand still, feeling the cool air on your skin, and you realize that the earth is waking without hurry, offering you the chance to awaken with it. If earth is a test, then perhaps dawn is one of its questions. Can we rise gently, without fear, without haste, trusting that light will always return? As the sun climbs higher, its light flows over the land like a golden tide. Hills awaken in layers of shadow and shine, valleys deepen in color, and rivers catch the glow, turning silver as they weave their way to the distant sea. Birds stir from their resting places, lifting into the brightening sky, their wings cutting graceful arcs through the air. Their voices rise in song, a chorus of countless notes overlapping in harmony, filling the morning with music that asks for nothing except to be heard. If earth is a test, perhaps the birds are asking us whether we can find joy in simplicity, whether we can lift our voices without fear, whether we can sing simply because we are alive. The morning stretches onward, and you walk across a meadow, where the grass bends under the weight of dew. Tiny drops catch the sunlight, scattering it into sparkles that twinkle like stars fallen to earth. Each blade of grass, each flower opening to the day, is part of the great pattern of life. Breathing, together with the sky above, the air carries the scent of earth and growing things, and you breathe deeply, filling yourself with its freshness. Perhaps this too is part of the test, that we remember the beauty in small details, that we learn to see wonder not only in vast galaxies, but also in a single drop of water trembling on the tip of a leaf. The world hums quietly as it moves into the fullness of day. You find yourself in a forest, where tall trees rise like pillars, their trunks sturdy, their branches spreading outward, weaving a canopy of green. Shafts of sunlight filter through the leaves, painting patterns of light and shadow on the ground. The air is cool and damp, filled with the fragrance of pine and earth. Beneath the trees, streams trickle over stones, their sounds soft and musical, blending with the rustling of leaves high above. As you walk deeper into the forest, you feel as though you are entering a living cathedral, where silence is not empty but full, where stillness itself becomes a teacher. If earth is a test, perhaps the forest is asking whether we can be patient, whether we can grow slowly and steadily, reaching toward the light while remaining rooted in the ground that holds us. Time moves gently here, unmeasured by clocks, marked only by the shifting light and the quiet rhythm of nature. The forest eventually opens into a clearing where wildflowers bloom in countless colors. Their petals sway lightly in the breeze, each one a delicate flame of color against the green. Bees move from flower to flower, their work steady and purposeful, yet carried out with ease, as though labor and play are one and the same. You watch them, noticing how every creature, no matter how small, carries its own part in the larger design. If earth is a test, perhaps the flowers and bees are asking us whether we can live in harmony, whether we can find our role and embrace it with devotion, knowing that every action, no matter how small, contributes to the whole dot. As the day drifts into afternoon, you walk along a path that leads to gentle hills. The air is warm now, the sky vast and clear, the sun glowing steadily above. In the distance, you see fields where farmers work slowly, tending to the crops that will feed their families and communities. Their hands move with care, their bodies following rhythms passed down through generations. The soil is rich and dark, alive with unseen life that nurtures the roots of plants. You kneel to touch the earth, feeling its warmth, its texture, its endless generosity. Perhaps this is another question the earth asks, whether we will honor the soil that sustains us, whether we will remember that every meal, every piece of bread begins as a seed cradled in the ground. The golden light of afternoon softens, and you wander into an orchard where trees stand heavy with fruit. Their branches bend gently, yet they do not cling to what they carry. The fruit ripens and falls freely, becoming food for humans, for animals, for the earth itself as it returns to the soil. You pick one piece, its skin warm from the sun, and taste its sweetness. It is simple, yet profound, a reminder that life offers abundance when we are willing to receive without greed. If earth is a test, perhaps the orchard is asking us whether we can learn to share, whether we can release what we hold, trusting that more will come in its season. As evening begins to gather, the sky shifts into shades of amber and rose. Shadows lengthen, and the air cools. You walk into a village where people gather at the end of the day. Children laugh as they play in the fading light, their voices bright and full of life. Elders sit together, speaking softly, sharing stories from long ago. Neighbors greet one another warmly, exchanging food, laughter, and care. There is a sense of connection here, a reminder that we are never meant to walk alone, that we are threads in a single fabric of existence. Perhaps the village itself holds a lesson, asking us whether we will choose kindness, whether we will live as part of a community, whether we will remember that love is not weakness but strength. Night slowly unfolds across the sky, and lanterns glow in windows as the stars appear one by one. You follow a small path beyond the village, leading into the hills. The night is calm, filled with the sounds of crickets singing, the distant call of an owl, the whisper of leaves in the breeze. The stars multiply overhead, their countless lights, turning the sky into a vast ocean of brilliance. You lie down on the grass and gaze upward, feeling the cool earth beneath you, the infinite heavens above. In this moment, you are suspended between two infinities, the ground that holds you and the cosmos that surrounds you. If Earth is a test, perhaps the stars are asking us whether we can dream beyond ourselves, whether we can imagine what lies beyond, whether we can carry within us both humility and wonder. You close your eyes for a while, listening to the night, breathing with the rhythm of the earth. The ground cradles you gently, and you feel your body relaxing, releasing, sinking deeper into the stillness. The test no longer feels like something to pass or fail, but rather something to live, to experience, to move through with patience and openness. Every sound, every sight, every breath becomes part of the lesson, reminding you that presence is enough. Time drifts on, and when you open your eyes again, the moon has risen, casting its silver light across the hills. Its glow softens every edge, painting the world in shades of quiet beauty. You watch as clouds move slowly across its face, reshaping the light in ever-changing forms. The moon seems timeless, yet always changing, teaching us that transformation is natural, that cycles of growth and rest, of fullness and emptiness, are woven into all life. If Earth is a test, perhaps the moon is asking us whether we can accept change with grace, whether we can trust the rhythm of becoming and releasing, waxing and waning, shining and retreating. The night deepens, and you rise to walk once more. You follow a river that winds through the hills, its surface glimmering with moonlight. The water moves steadily, flowing toward the distant sea, never resisting, always finding its way. Its voice is soft, yet unyielding, a reminder that persistence does not need to be forceful. If Earth is a test, perhaps the river is asking whether we can learn to flow, whether we can move forward without struggle, finding paths around obstacles, trusting that the sea awaits. Onward you walk, through valleys where fireflies dance like living stars, their gentle lights pulsing in patterns too intricate to understand, yet deeply calming to watch. Their glow feels like a secret language, a reminder that beauty often appears in small, fleeting forms, here for a moment, and then gone. If Earth is a test, perhaps the fireflies are asking whether we can cherish the fleeting without needing to hold it forever, whether we can find joy in what is temporary, knowing that impermanence is part of life's wonder. Farther along the path, you come to a mountain rising against the starlit sky. Its peak is crowned with snow, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Slowly, you begin to climb, each step steady and deliberate, each breath deep and grounding. The air grows cooler as you ascend, the silence more profound. When you reach a plateau, you pause to look around. The world stretches endlessly in every direction, valleys and rivers, forests and plains, all bathed in the soft light of night. You feel small and infinite at once, a single being standing on the skin of a vast planet. part of something immeasurable. If Earth is a test, perhaps the mountain is asking whether we can rise above ourselves, whether we can see the larger view, whether we can carry both humility and strength within us. You sit upon the mountain for a while, letting the silence speak to you. The stars above seem closer here, as if you could reach out and touch them. The wind brushes gently against your skin, carrying with it the scent of stone and sky. In this stillness, you realize that perhaps the test is not about reaching answers, but about learning to listen to the world, to others, to ourselves. And as you rest there, with the earth beneath and the cosmos above, you feel the gentle truth settle into you, that the test of Earth is not one to pass, but one to live with. Openness, presence, and love. The mountain remains quiet as you sit upon its slope, listening to the vastness of night. The longer you stay, the more the silence deepens, until it seems that even your own thoughts are softened, stretched thin by the immensity of the sky. The stars above are no longer just points of light, but companions, each one a beacon burning across distances so vast the mind cannot measure them. You sense that in their glow there is a message, not written in words, but carried in patience and endurance. They have shone for millions of years, indifferent to hurry, indifferent to fear. If Earth is a test, perhaps the stars themselves are part of the question whether we, too, can endure with patience, whether we can shine not for recognition, but simply because shining is what we are made to do. When you finally rise and continue along the winding path, you find yourself descending toward a valley where night mist gathers. The mist drifts gently between the trees, softening every outline, turning branches and rocks into shapes that appear and vanish with each step. It is as though you are walking through a dream, one in which the world hides its sharpness and offers only suggestion, inviting you to trust the unseen. Each breath carries the coolness of dew, filling your lungs with freshness. Perhaps this too is part of the Earth's subtle inquiry, whether we can walk even when clarity is hidden, whether we can trust paths we do not fully see, whether we can rest in mystery without fear. As you descend further, you reach a meadow where the mist thins and the ground is soft beneath your feet. A stream runs through it, reflecting the moonlight in rippling patterns that dance across the grass. At its edge, a family of deer graze quietly, their movements calm, their presence gentle. They lift their heads briefly to watch you, their eyes shining with the reflection of the stars, then lower again to continue their feeding, untroubled by your presence. In them you sense a question about gentleness, about trust, about the possibility of living without unnecessary defense. If Earth is a test, perhaps it is asking whether we can learn to walk lightly, to cause no harm, to carry our lives without making the world smaller for others. The meadow gives way to rolling hills, and as you climb once more, you hear the distant sound of wind moving through tall grasses. When you crest the rise, you see an expanse of prairie stretching endlessly beneath the sky. The grasses sway in waves, bending and rising as the breeze moves across them, turning the land into a living ocean. You step into it, and the sound of the wind and grass surrounds you, a hushed, continuous song that never ends. The horizon seems infinite here, with no walls, no boundaries, only openness. The prairie does not ask you to own it, to measure it, to conquer it. It simply invites you to walk, to breathe, to exist. If Earth is a test, perhaps the prairie is asking whether we can accept vastness without fear, whether we can step into openness without needing to control it, whether we can let ourselves be small without being diminished. Hours pass gently, and the prairie slowly darkens as the night deepens further. At last, the land shifts again, rising into rocky plateaus, where cliffs look out over valleys below. You rest upon a ledge, gazing outward. From this vantage, you can see rivers threading through the land, forests clustered like deep green oceans, and beyond them, faint mountain ridges etched against the stars. The earth stretches beneath you with a quiet grandeur, and in that view, you sense not just beauty, but resilience. The land has endured ice and fire, storms and quakes, endless cycles of growth and destruction. Yet here it is, whole, alive, still offering space for countless lives to unfold. Perhaps this is one of Earth's deepest questions, whether we, too, can endure with such resilience, whether we can meet storms and still stand, whether we can be changed and still continue to give. You lie back against the stone, letting the cool surface support you, and close your eyes for a while. In the darkness behind your eyelids, images rise like dreams, oceans teeming with life. forests stretching endlessly, glaciers gleaming in sunlight, deserts shimmering with heat, all of them woven together in a single tapestry of existence. You sense that the earth itself is alive in ways we cannot fully grasp, breathing, pulsing, turning, carrying us all upon its back. If it is a test, then perhaps it is not a test of intellect, but of love, whether we can recognize that we belong to this world, not above it or apart from it, but within it, as threads woven into its endless fabric. When you open your eyes again, the stars are beginning to fade, and a faint glow gathers at the horizon. Dawn is approaching once more, gentle and sure, returning as it always does. The sky softens into shades of blue and violet, and the first birds stir with tentative notes that soon swell into full song. The world is waking again, renewed, refreshed, alive. You rise to your feet, feeling the cool air brush against your face, carrying the scent of dew and grass. You begin to walk again, descending from the plateau toward a river valley. The water gleams in the growing light, its surface shimmering with the colors of morning. You follow its course, listening to its steady murmur, watching how it flows around stones without resistance, always moving forward. Its lesson is simple, yet profound, that strength can be soft, that persistence can be gentle, that forward motion does not always require force. If Earth is a test, perhaps the river is asking whether we can move through life in this way steadily, gently, without fear of obstacles, trusting that all paths eventually find their sea. The river leads you toward a lake, still and wide, its surface mirroring the rising sun. The reflection is so clear it feels as though the world above and the world below are one, sky and water meeting without boundary. You sit at its edge, watching ripples spread outward when a fish leaps briefly from the depths, then vanish again as the surface calms. The lake is a mirror, but also a keeper of secrets, holding within it entire worlds unseen. If Earth is a test, perhaps the lake asks whether we can hold stillness without losing depth, whether we can reflect beauty while also carrying mystery, whether we can be both surface and depth at once. As the day brightens, you continue your journey and arrive at a desert where the sun climbs high and the sand stretches endlessly in rolling dunes. The air shimmers with heat and the ground radiates warmth with each step. At first, the land seems empty, barren, but as you look more closely, you notice tracks of animals in the sand, hardy plants clinging to survival, birds soaring overhead on unseen currents. The desert is alive, though it asks for resilience and respect. It is a place of both silence and endurance. If Earth is a test, perhaps the desert is asking whether we can endure hardship without bitterness, whether we can find life in places that seem empty, whether we can learn that scarcity has its wisdom. Night falls again upon the desert, and the stars blaze even more brightly than before, unhindered by clouds or trees. You lie down upon the sand, feeling its warmth beneath you, and gaze into the infinite expanse above. The stars stretch endlessly, reminding you once more of how small you are, and how vast the cosmos remains. Yet, within that smallness, you feel no fear, only belonging. For to be small in a vast universe is not to be meaningless, is to be part of something greater, to contribute your light in your own way, however humble. As your eyes grow heavy, the question of Earth no longer feels like a puzzle to solve, but a song to join, a rhythm to follow. It asks only that you walk with awareness, that you breathe with gratitude, that you love with openness, and as sleep comes softly, you realize that perhaps the greatest answer to Earth's test is not in words at all, but in the quiet act of being here, alive, present, part of the turning of this ancient and beautiful world. The morning begins softly, as though the world itself is careful not to wake too quickly. The horizon glows with the first colors of light, faint shades of peach and gold brushing across the sky while the air remains cool and still. You rise, slowly, as if carried by that same gentleness, and begin walking along a path that follows the edge of the river. The water gleams beneath the sun, moving with quiet determination, whispering its endless story as it flows between its banks. The sound is calming, steady, like a voice that has spoken the same truth for ages beyond memory. If Earth is a test, perhaps the river is asking whether we can keep moving forward without haste, whether we can flow around obstacles without losing ourselves, whether we can carry what we hold without letting it become a burden too heavy. to bear, the valley widens, and the river expands into wetlands, where reeds sway in the breeze and birds call to one another in bright, liquid tones. The air is alive with sound, but not in a way that overwhelms it, is balanced, harmonious, a chorus of voices weaving together without discord. Small ripples spread across the water as fish dart beneath the surface, while dragonflies hover and glitter in the light. There is a rhythm here, one that does not need conductors or rules, one that emerges simply from each life fulfilling its role. Perhaps this too is part of the Earth's inquiry, whether we can create harmony not by control, but by allowing each voice to rise in its own way, whether we can live as part of a chorus rather than demanding the silence of all others. As you continue, the wetlands give way to forest once more, tall trees arching overhead like guardians of an ancient temple. Their trunks rise like pillars, their leaves form a living roof, filtering the sunlight into patterns that shift and shiver across the ground. The air here is rich with the scent of earth and moss, and every breath feels like nourishment, as though the forest itself is sharing its life with you. The ground is soft beneath your steps, layered with fallen leaves and pine needles. A reminder of cycles. What once reached for the sky now rests upon the earth, waiting to become part of the soil that feeds new growth. If earth is a test, perhaps the forest asks whether we understand these cycles, whether we can accept that endings are not failures, but beginnings in disguise, whether we can trust that loss, too, feeds the future. Deeper into the forest, you find a clearing where shafts of sunlight pierce through the canopy, illuminating a circle of ferns. In the center of this clearing stands an ancient tree, its trunk wide and gnarled, its branches spreading outward in a gesture of quiet majesty. You step closer, laying your hand against its bark, rough with age, yet steady, resilient. This tree has stood through countless seasons, seen storms, fires, winds, and still it stands, sheltering, breathing, giving. You feel the pulse of its life beneath your palm, slow and steady, older than your own heartbeat. Perhaps the tree is another question in this test of earth, whether we too can endure with such patience, whether we can give without exhaustion, whether we can root ourselves deeply enough to weather storms without fear. The forest path eventually leads you upward, climbing along rocky slopes where the trees thin and the ground becomes bare. You ascend slowly, feeling the effort in your body, but also the exhilaration of climbing toward something greater. When at last you reach the summit, the view opens before you in sweeping majesty. Mountains stretching across the horizon, valleys rolling below, rivers shining like silver threads. The air is thin and cool, the sky impossibly wide. In that openness, you feel both small and infinite, a single being yet part of something vast beyond imagining. Perhaps the mountains ask whether we can carry both truths at once, that we are tiny sparks in an immense universe, and yet we matter, our presence a note in the great song of existence. You remain on the summit for some time, letting the wind move around you, listening to the silence that is never truly silent. It carries echoes of distant rivers, whispers of unseen birds, the faint hum of life hidden in stone and soil. When you finally descend, the sun is high, casting warmth across the land. You follow a narrow path that leads downward into another valley, where meadows bloom with wildflowers in every shade: violet, yellow, white, and red, each one open to the sky, each one a burst of color in the sea of green. Bees hum as they move from flower to flower, carrying pollen in their steady work, fulfilling a purpose as old as time. The meadow hums with quiet energy, a reminder that even the smallest lives contribute to the great unfolding of the world. Perhaps the flowers ask whether we, too, can open ourselves fully, whether we can live without fear of fading, whether we can offer beauty simply because beauty is what we are. As afternoon drifts toward evening, the sky softens into shades of amber and rose, the light deepening, the air cooling. You walk along the edge of the meadow and find yourself at the foot of a vast canyon. Its walls rise steeply on either side, carved by ages of wind and water, glowing with colors that shift as the sun lowers: red, orange, gold, all layered like the pages of a book. You step into its depths, and the canyon surrounds you with silence, so complete it feels like a sacred hush. The walls bear witness to time itself, each layer a record of what came before, each stone a memory etched in patience. Perhaps the canyon asks whether we can carry memory as the earth does, not as weight, but as story, whether we can honor the past without being trapped within it. whether we can see beauty in what endures across ages beyond our own. Night descends upon the canyon, and the stars reveal themselves once more, countless and endless. You lie back upon the smooth rock, watching them emerge one by one until the sky is full, until the darkness itself becomes luminous. In that stillness, you feel the weight of time ease from your shoulders. The earth does not rush, the stars do not hurry, and you too can rest without urgency. Sleep drifts toward you like a gentle tide, and as your eyes close, you sense that you are being carried, not tested, not judged, but simply held within the embrace of a world that has always known how to cradle life in its arms. The night deepens around the canyon, and the stars above seem to lean closer, as if curious about the quiet traveler who lies upon the stone floor gazing upward. The air is cool, yet gentle, carrying with it the faint scent of desert blooms that open only after the sun has set. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls, its voice echoing softly against the canyon walls, a reminder that life continues even in the deepest hours of darkness. You breathe slowly, deeply, and feel yourself becoming part of this night, no longer an observer, but a participant in its vast serenity. Perhaps the test here is not one of action at all, but of stillness. Whether you can allow yourself to dissolve into the rhythm of the earth without resistance, whether you can rest as deeply as the stones, as freely as the wind that moves unseen. Above the cliff's dot, as dawn approaches, a faint silver glow spreads across the horizon, followed by the first threads of pale blue weaving into the sky. You rise and begin to walk again, leaving the canyon behind as you follow a trail that leads toward open plains. The land stretches far and wide, grasses bending in unison beneath the morning breeze, an endless ocean of green and gold. Herds of animals move slowly in the distance, antelope grazing with their heads lowered, birds sweeping low across the fields, a harmony of motion that feels both ancient and eternal. You walk among them quietly, your steps blending into the pulse of the plain. The animals glance your way, yet do not flee, as if recognizing you, not as a stranger, but as another presence woven into the fabric of their world. If Earth is a test, perhaps it asks whether we can remember that we are not separate from these beings, that we belong to the same story, that our survival is not built upon theirs but with theirs. The plain leads you to a river delta, where countless channels of water wind and weave their way toward the sea. Here the land is alive with sound, the rush of currents, the cries of seabirds circling overhead, the distant roar of waves beyond the horizon. Mangrove roots reach downward into the water, their branches forming labyrinths, where fish hide and crabs scuttle across the mud. The tide shifts and reshapes the landscape each hour, reminding you that nothing remains fixed, that change itself is the law of this place. Standing upon the edge of the delta, you watch as the fresh waters of the river merge with the salt waters of the sea, two worlds meeting and mingling, forming something greater than either alone. Perhaps this is another of Earth's questions, whether we too can merge without fear, whether we can bring together differences not as conflict but as union, whether we can flow into one another's lives without losing who we are. The sea greets you with its endless horizon, waves rising and falling in patterns too vast to count. You step along the shore, the sand cooled beneath your feet, damp with the retreat of the tide. Each wave that rolls in seems to bring with it a message, whispered in foam and spray, a reminder of the deep heart of the planet that beats beneath the surface of the water. The ocean is vast, its depths hidden, its power undeniable. Standing here, you feel both humbled and embraced, reminded that life itself began in these waters, that the sea holds within it stories older than any mountain, any tree, any canyon. Perhaps the ocean asks whether we can carry mystery without needing to solve it, whether we can love what we do not fully understand, whether we can surrender to the tides of life with trust instead of fear. You walk for hours along the shoreline, until the day grows warm and the sun glitters across the waves like scattered jewels. Fishermen pass in small boats, their sails catching the wind as they glide effortlessly across the water. They do not shout, they do not rush, they move with the sea, guided by patience, trusting its rhythms. Their presence is a lesson, too, a reminder that we do not master the world by force but by listening, by yielding, by finding the currents and allowing them to carry us where we need to go. Later, when the sun leans westward, you climb the dunes that rise beyond the beach. Their slopes are soft, each step sinking into grains that shift and whisper with every movement. From the crest of the dunes, the world stretches out in vast simplicity, the sea to one side, shimmering and endless, the land to the other, rolling into distant hills. The wind moves freely here, reshaping the dunes with each gust, sculpting them into forms that will not last, yet remain beautiful for as long as they exist. Perhaps the dunes are asking whether we, too, can accept impermanence, whether we can let go of the need for permanence and instead find peace in the shifting shapes of our own lives. That as evening settles once more, you descend from the dunes into a small grove of palms. The air is filled with the rustling of fronds, a sound like soft rain, though the sky above remains clear. A spring flows here, fresh and cool, gathering into a pool that reflects the first stars of the night. You kneel beside it, cupping the water in your hands, drinking deeply, feeling the freshness wash through you. The palms sway, their shadows long and graceful against the starlit ground, as if they, too, are breathing in the stillness of the night. You lie down near the water's edge, listening to its trickle, watching the constellations appear one by one above the horizon. The night sky is vast, yet the pool mirrors it perfectly, a reminder that even the smallest places can hold reflections of infinity. Perhaps this is Earth's question, whether we can see the infinite in the small, whether we can recognize that the grandest truths are often carried in the quietest moments. Sleep drifts toward you as the stars brighten, the soft whisper of water blending with the rhythm of your breath. You close your eyes, and for a time, there is only the sound of night, the touch of cool air, the presence of Earth itself holding you in its endless embrace. You dream of horizons that stretch beyond sight, of mountains that rise into clouds, of oceans that cradle stars within their depths. And when morning comes, you rise renewed, ready to continue along the path, ready to listen for the next quiet question the world might ask. The journey carries you onward, across new valleys and ridges, through forests where the leaves turn golden, with the change of seasons, along rivers where mist drifts like smoke above the water. Each step is slow, unhurried, each breath a reminder that there is no race, no finish line, only the steady unfolding of time. You pass through villages where children laugh and play in the sunlight, their voices bright and pure, echoing across the fields. You share bread with strangers who welcome you not for what you can give, but simply because you are there, because the act of sharing is reason enough. Perhaps this too is part of the Earth's test, whether we can live by generosity instead of scarcity, whether we can see abundance not as wealth but as the presence of each other. The days pass, and each one feels like a gift, each one carrying within it another lesson, another question. The Earth does not ask these questions with severity. It does not demand answers quickly. Instead, it waits patiently, offering reminders in the curve of a shell, in the arc of a rainbow, in the rise of mountains and the fall of rain. The questions are gentle, as though whispered by a friend who trusts that in time you will understand. And as night falls again, and you lie beneath the stars once more, you realize that perhaps the test was never meant to be passed or failed. Perhaps it was only ever meant to be lived, each moment an opportunity to listen, to learn, to love. The Earth holds you as you drift into sleep, your breath slowing, your thoughts softening, your heart at peace with the endless unfolding of this quiet, eternal journey. The night deepens, and in that darkness, the stars reveal their full brilliance. They are countless, a river of light flowing endlessly above you. Some glow steady and bright, others flicker gently, their light softened by the vast distances they have traveled to reach your eyes. You lie upon the earth, breathing slowly, and in that stillness, you feel as though the stars themselves are watching over you, companions rather than distant fires. Each one holds a story, a history measured, not in centuries but in eons, yet together they form constellations that humans have known and named for as long as memory stretches. Perhaps Earth's test is to remind us that we are part of this greater cosmos, that our small lives are woven into a pattern far larger than we can see. As dawn begins to lighten the horizon, you rise once more and continue walking. The path carries you through rolling meadows where wildflowers sway, their petals opening to greet the morning sun. Bees move from bloom to bloom, their gentle hum filling the air, a sound both purposeful and soothing. Butterflies lift lightly, their wings painted with colors so delicate they seem borrowed from the light itself. In every direction, life stirs awake, yet it does so without hurry, each creature moving at its own pace, guided by rhythms older than any clock. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with air touched by blossoms, and you wonder if the test here is one of presence, whether you can walk without rushing, whether you can truly notice the small wonders scattered at your feet. The meadows give way to a forest, its canopy stretching high above, filtering sunlight into soft beams that fall like golden threads upon the ground. The air is cooler here, damp with the scent of moss and bark. You hear the sound of water trickling somewhere nearby, the rustle of leaves stirred by hidden creatures, the distant tapping of woodpeckers against trunks. As you walk deeper, the forest enfolds you, its silence not empty but alive, filled with subtle music. Every step upon the earth releases the fragrance of soil, rich and grounding, as though reminding you of the source from which all life arises. You pause often, resting your hand upon the rough bark of ancient trees, feeling their quiet strength. Perhaps the forest asks whether you can be patient, whether you can grow not in haste but in seasons, whether you can find your roots before reaching toward the sky. Time passes differently here. The hours do not announce themselves with bells or alarms. They slip quietly into one another, measured only by the shifting of shadows. You follow a stream that winds through the forest, its waters clear and cool, flowing over stones polished smooth by countless years. The stream gathers into small pools where fish dart beneath the surface, their movements quick yet graceful. You kneel beside the water, trailing your fingers through the current, and feel its unbroken journey toward rivers, seas, and oceans. Water is patient, yielding to every stone, yet unstoppable in its persistence. Perhaps this, too, is Earth's lesson, whether we can endure not by resisting but by flowing, whether we can trust the path even when it bends unseen. Ahead. As the day grows long, the forest opens onto a high plateau. From here, you can see mountains rising in the distance, their peaks veiled with mist. The air is thinner, cooler, touched with the scent of stone and pine. You begin to climb slowly, each step steady, each breath mindful. The path winds upward, carrying you closer to the clouds. Along the way, you encounter small signs of resilience, flowers that bloom from cracks in the rock, birds that soar with effortless grace upon unseen currents of air. Higher and higher you ascend, until the world below seems to fade into dream, and the sky above becomes your only companion. The climb is long, but it is not hurried. It is a meditation of movement, a reminder that progress is not measured in speed but in presence. Perhaps the mountain asks whether you can find strength not in dominance but in endurance, whether you can climb not for conquest but for communion. At last you reach a summit, where the world opens wide around you. The valleys stretch like painted tapestries far below, rivers gleaming like silver threads, forests spreading like endless seas of green. Clouds drift past at eye level, their shadows dancing upon the land. The wind is strong here, yet it feels cleansing, carrying away weight you did not realize you bore. You sit upon the stone, breathing deeply, letting the vastness enter you. In this place, there is no urgency, no demand, only stillness, only the reminder that sometimes the highest perspective is gained not by striving, but by pausing. Perhaps this is part of the test: to climb, not to dominate, but to sit quietly at the peak and simply behold. Night falls slowly upon the summit, the horizon painted with streaks of orange, then deepening into purple and blue. Stars appear once more, brighter than you have ever seen them, as if the thin air allows their light to reach you more directly. You wrap yourself in the quiet of the mountain, the stone beneath you radiating the last warmth of the sun. Sleep comes easily here, for there is nothing to resist. The mountain watches over you as you drift, a guardian as old as time itself. In your dreams, you wander across galaxies, walking among stars as though they were lanterns guiding you through an infinite garden. When morning returns, you begin your descent, following a path that leads down the opposite side of the range. The air warms, and soon the land opens into fertile valleys where rivers braid through fields of golden grain. Villages lie scattered among the hills, their homes simple yet strong, their gardens alive with fruit and herbs. You pass through slowly, welcomed by those you meet, offered food and rest without question. You sit with them around fires, listening to their songs, their stories, their laughter. In their kindness, you see another test: whether we can recognize the sacred in one another, whether we can value the act of giving as deeply as receiving, whether we can honor the bonds that make strangers into kin. Beyond the valleys, your path takes you toward deserts once more, where the land stretches wide and silent beneath the unrelenting sun. Yet even here, life persists. Tiny flowers bloom briefly after rare rains. Lizards scurry across the sand, and in the distance, mirages shimmer like gateways to another world. Walking across the desert is slow, each step deliberate, each breath measured. Yet within the simplicity of this place there is clarity. The desert strips away excess, leaving only what matters most. Perhaps this, too, is Earth's question: whether we can live without adornment, whether we can recognize that we are enough, without the weight of possessions, that our true wealth lies in being, not having. Days and nights pass in rhythm, sun blazing, stars returning, wind shaping dunes that rise and fall like the breath of the land itself. You walk, you rest, you dream, and through it all, you feel yourself softening into the earth's pace, carried, not by will but by belonging. The desert does not test you with cruelty, but with gentleness, asking whether you can be content with silence, whether you can accept that emptiness is not lack but fullness of another kind. Eventually, the desert yields to grasslands once more, where storms gather on the horizon. Lightning flickers across darkened skies, rain falls in heavy sheets, the land drinking deeply after so much thirst. You stand in the downpour, drenched yet grateful, each drop a reminder of the cycles that sustain all things. Perhaps this is the final question of this passage: whether you can celebrate renewal even when it comes with storms, whether you can welcome change as blessing rather than burden. And so the journey continues, the earth unfolding before you, each landscape another page in an endless book, each step another line in a story that has no ending. The test, you begin to realize, was never about passing or failing. It was about listening, about remembering, about walking slowly enough that the world can speak to you, and softly enough that you can hear. The horizon stretches wide once more, and as you walk onward, the path begins to shift beneath your feet. The air grows warmer, touched with a faint saltiness, as though carried from distant seas. The sky deepens into a blue so pure it feels infinite, and soon the sound of waves reaches your ears, rolling rhythmically against unseen shores. You follow the sound until the trees part, revealing an expanse of ocean that glitters beneath the sun. The water moves with endless patience, tides rising and falling as they have since long before memory. A pulse that belongs not to hours but to eternity. You step onto the sand, feeling it yield softly beneath your feet. It is warm, yet cool just. Beneath the surface, a reminder of balance hidden within all things. The waves approach and recede, their foamy edges curling around your ankles before slipping back into the sea. Each wave carries with it the weight of the world, pulling pebbles, shells, and grains of sand into ceaseless motion, yet none of it feels hurried. The ocean knows no urgency. It only breathes in its vast and steady way. Perhaps here, Earth is asking whether you too can find such balance, whether you can move through life, not with haste but with rhythm, not with resistance but with trust. In the tide, you walk along the shore, the sea stretching endlessly on one side, dunes and grasses swaying gently on the other. Seabirds wheel above, their calls sharp yet soothing, as if reminding the air that freedom is not found in stillness alone but also in flight. You pause to watch them, noticing how they ride the currents with ease, expending little effort, guided by invisible streams of wind. It makes you wonder whether the test is not about effort but alignment, not about pushing against the world but about moving with it, listening for the currents that are already there, waiting to be trusted. The sun drifts lower, painting the sea with shades of gold and rose. You sit upon a smooth stone and watch the light scatter across the water, breaking into 1,000 fragments that shimmer like scattered jewels. Each spark seems to speak of something fleeting yet eternal, as if beauty exists only because it passes, as if the most precious gift Earth offers is the reminder that moments cannot be held, only witnessed. Perhaps that is another lesson of this place, that nothing is lost, only transformed, that waves return, though each is new, that endings are but beginnings in another shape. Night falls gently upon the ocean, and the horizon disappears into darkness. Yet the sea does not vanish. Its voice remains, a steady rhythm of waves against shore, a lullaby written long before humankind first closed their eyes in sleep. You lie upon the sand, watching the stars awaken once more, reflected faintly upon the water's surface. Between the stars above and their shimmering twins below, you feel suspended, as though floating in an endless sky. The sound of the waves carries you inward, their rhythm matching your breath, guiding you into rest. And as your eyes close, you realize that perhaps Earth's test is simply to see whether you can surrender, whether you can trust yourself enough to let go into peace. When morning returns, the sea greets you with light dancing upon its waves. The air is crisp, cool with the touch of dawn, and the beach is quiet, save for the distant calls of waking birds. You rise and walk inland once more, leaving the shoreline behind, though its rhythm continues within you. The path takes you through wetlands, where reeds sway and frogs sing in chorus, their voices blending into a harmony that seems both playful and profound. Dragonflies skim the surface of still ponds, their wings glinting like glass in the sunlight. Here, the air feels rich with life, unseen teeny creatures moving in the water, roots reaching deep into hidden soil, cycles turning quietly beneath the surface. Perhaps this is Earth's way of asking whether we can honor the unseen, whether we can value what thrives in silence, beneath notice, sustaining the whole without ever calling attention to itself. The wetlands give way to rolling hills where grass sways like an ocean of green. Wind rushes across the open land, carrying with it the scent of flowers and soil, the distant call of grazing animals. Herds move slowly across the plain, their presence steady, their steps guided by ancient instincts. You watch them graze, their movements unhurried, each one part of a greater whole. There is no waste here, no excess, only balance, only the endless exchange between grass and grazing, between life and life again. Perhaps this is the lesson of the plains, that we are not separate but woven together, that survival is not about taking more but about giving enough, that harmony lies, not in isolation but in connection. As you continue, clouds gather on the horizon, great towers of white rising into the sky. They drift closer, their undersides darkening, until rain begins to fall in gentle drops. The plain drinks deeply, each blade of grass shimmering with new life. You lift your face to the rain, feeling it cool against your skin, a baptism given freely by the sky. The storm grows heavier, lightning flashing in the distance, thunder rolling like a deep drumbeat. Yet even this feels less like violence and more like renewal, the earth cleansing itself, replenishing what was spent. You walk through the rain without hurry, each drop reminding you that sometimes the test is not whether we can avoid storms, but whether we can walk within them with grace. When at last the rain eases, the sky opens into brilliant blue once more, and a rainbow arcs across the horizon, its colors soft yet vivid, a bridge painted by light itself. You pause to watch it fade slowly, not into nothing, but into memory, leaving behind only the reminder that beauty is often fleeting, and that this impermanence is what makes it precious. The path ahead carries you into ancient woodlands, once again, though these feel different from those you walked before. The trees here are vast, towering higher than any cathedral, their trunks so wide that it would take many arms to encircle just one. The air is thick with their presence, heavy, yet comforting, as though the forest itself is breathing. Moss carpets the ground, soft beneath your steps, and shafts of sunlight filter through the canopy like golden rivers flowing downward. Every sound here is hushed, as if even the wind moves with reverence. You place your hand against one of the great trunks and feel a deep stillness, as if the tree carries memories older than human time, as if it remembers the first dawn. Perhaps this is Earth's way of asking whether we can remember to, whether we can hold reverence for what came before us, whether we can honor roots as much as we seek branches. You wander deeper, where streams flow quietly among stones and the calls of distant birds echo like ancient songs. A deer crosses your path, pausing to meet your gaze with eyes that hold both gentleness and caution. In that brief moment, you feel the connection of two beings sharing the same test, two lives, unfolding side by side within the same greater story. The deer moves on, and you do as well, yet the meeting lingers, a reminder that Earth's lessons are not written in words but in encounters, in the quiet recognition of kinship across difference. As twilight approaches, the forest opens into a glade bathed in soft light. Fireflies emerge, their glow pulsing gently, a living constellation that dances close to the ground. Their light is tender, fragile yet enduring, as if each flicker is a heartbeat of the night itself. You sit among them, watching their small lanterns rise and fall, and in their presence you feel a sense of wonder too deep for explanation. Perhaps this is one of Earth's simplest questions, whether we can still be moved by wonder, whether we can still pause to see beauty in the smallest glow, whether we can let mystery remain mystery without demanding it reveal its every secret. The night deepens, and you rest upon the soft earth, cradled by the sounds of the forest, the call of owls, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of the wind. Sleep comes like a tide, carrying you gently into dreams where the earth itself seems to walk beside you, guiding you not with answers but with presence. And in those dreams, you begin to understand that the test was never meant to be passed or failed. It was meant to be lived, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. The morning returns with a gentle unveiling of light, soft and steady as it filters through the high branches of the ancient forest. Dew clings to leaves and grass, tiny droplets catching the first rays of sunlight and scattering them like countless diamonds. The air carries a freshness that feels new yet timeless, as though the world itself has just taken its first breath. You rise slowly, surrounded by stillness, aware that each moment in this place is both delicate and infinite. As you walk, the forest greets you with quiet, a hush so deep that it feels almost sacred. The path ahead leads you toward a meadow, wide and open, where wildflowers bloom in great sweeps of color: gold, violet, white, and crimson, swaying gently in the morning breeze. Their fragrance is subtle yet undeniable, a perfume woven not for recognition but for existence itself. Bees move from bloom to bloom, their wings buzzing softly, carrying with them the unseen work of pollination, the silent weaving of life's continuity. You pause to watch, marveling at how such small creatures hold the threads of entire ecosystems. Perhaps the earth asks here whether we can see the vast in the small, whether we can honor the unnoticed labors that sustain all things. Beyond the meadow, hills rise gently, rolling like the backs of sleeping giants beneath a sky now painted with drifting clouds. You climb slowly, each step carrying you higher, until the land opens into a view that seems to stretch forever. Valleys dip gracefully below, rivers carving their silver paths through green fields, and distant mountains rise hazy against the horizon. The wind at this height is cool and steady, carrying the scent of stone and grass, reminding you of the sheer breadth of the world. Standing here, you feel both small and endless, as if perspective itself is part of the earth's test weather. We can hold humility and vastness together, whether we can be both tiny and whole in the same breath. As you walk down from the hills, the ground begins to change, growing firmer, drier, until the green fades into shades of gold and rust. You find yourself stepping into desert lands, where the sun glows fiercely above, and the horizon shimmers with heat. The air here is still, holding a silence unlike any other, as though the world has paused to listen. Sand stretches outward, in long dunes, shaped by winds that have traveled centuries. Each grain is small, yet together they form an ocean of earth, endless and profound. You walk across the shifting surface, your steps leaving imprints that vanish almost as soon as they are made. Perhaps this is Earth's way of asking whether we can release the need for permanence, whether we can accept that some traces are meant to fade, some moments meant to be carried only by memory. As the sun lowers, the desert transforms. The harsh light softens into amber, shadows lengthen, and the sand cools beneath your feet. Then night arrives swiftly, and with it, the stars appear in overwhelming brilliance, unclouded by trees or cities or mist. The Milky Way arcs across the sky, each point of light sharp and radiant, a vast river of fire stretching into infinity. You lie upon the cooling sand, the air now gentle, and gaze upward into the endless sky. The silence of the desert cradles you, and in that silence you feel the immensity of existence, as though Earth itself is reminding you of your place among the stars. Perhaps the test is not whether you can reach them, but whether you can remember that you already belong to them, that their light is written in your very being. Daunt in the desert comes with a quiet radiance, the horizon glowing pale pink and gold before the sun rises once more. You continue onward, finding your way out of the sands until the land shifts again, giving way to rocky cliffs that descend sharply into a vast canyon. The stone walls rise in layers of red, orange, and ochre, each striation a chapter of the Earth's history, written long before humans could read such stories. A river flows far below, carving steadily, patiently, never rushing, only persisting. You follow the canyon's edge, feeling the weight of time pressed into every rock, every shadow. Perhaps this is Earth's question here, whether we can respect patience, Whether we can learn from the way water shapes stone, not through force but through presence. Whether we too can endure gently, shaping without destroying. As the canyon narrows, you descend toward its floor, where the river greets you with coolness and song. Its water rushes over stones, creating a melody that is both lively and eternal. You kneel to drink, the taste crisp, carrying minerals drawn from the deep bones of the earth. The sound of the river is soothing, steady, reminding you that even in the harshest lands, there is nourishment, there is flow. You follow the river for hours, its voice guiding you through the canyon, until at last it leads you into a valley where green returns once more, spreading wide beneath the open sky. Here, fields stretch far, dotted with groves of trees and scattered villages, where smoke rises gently from distant hearths. Though you do not enter, you see glimpses of live children running, animals grazing, voices carried faintly on the wind. The earth feels alive here in another way, through community, through connection. You pause and watch, recognizing that the test may also be one of belonging, of learning how to live not alone but together, to build in harmony rather than in competition. You continue through the valley until evening falls, and the sky once again deepens into hues of violet and blue. The moon rises, nearly full, casting its glow across the land. You climb a gentle rise and sit upon its crest, watching as the world grows quiet. The night is filled with subtle sounds, the chirp of crickets, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl. You breathe deeply, the cool air filling you, and feel as though the earth is whispering its final lesson of the day. That peace is not found in escape, but in noticing, in being present enough to listen. Sleep takes you once more beneath the silver gaze of the moon, carrying you into dreams where the earth's voice continues, softer now, weaving through your thoughts like wind through branches. The dreams feel endless, yet gentle, as if guiding you further inward, where silence itself becomes a kind of truth. When morning comes again, it arrives not with brilliance, but with a soft unfolding. Mist lingers across the valley, veiling the land in pale gray, blurring edges and softening distance. You walk slowly through it, each step quiet, each breath visible in the cool air. The mist wraps you in its embrace, asking nothing but patience, reminding you that clarity is not always immediate, that sometimes the world reveals itself only when we are willing to wait. Eventually, the sun begins to lift the mist, dissolving it into the air until the valley shines clear once more. You emerge from its embrace with a sense of renewal, as though you too have been unburdened, lightened by its passing. Ahead, mountains rise once more, sharper this time, their peaks capped with snow that glitters beneath the midday sun. You begin the climb, the path winding upward through forests of pine, their scent sharp and cleansing, the air growing thinner with each step. Birds adapted to these heights dart quickly among the branches, their songs bright and fleeting. As you ascend, the trees thin and the world opens wide, revealing ridges and valleys stretching endlessly below. Higher still, until the trees vanish altogether, leaving only rock and wind and sky. Each breath becomes effort, yet with each breath you feel more alive, more connected to the vastness around you. Perhaps this is Earth's most demanding question. We can rise not through conquest but through humility, whether we can see height, not as victory but as perspective. Finally, you reach a high plateau where the world seems to fall away in every direction. Snow lies in patches, pure and glistening, and the wind sings its endless song across the stones. You stand at the edge, gazing out at horizons that stretch beyond imagining, and for a moment, all else falls silent within you. The earth feels both immense and intimate here, as though holding you and challenging you in the same breath. You realize that perhaps the test is not about passing or failing, not about answers or outcomes. Perhaps the test is simply to see, to feel, to notice, to live fully enough that every step, every breath becomes part of the great conversation between you and the world. The day drifts onward, the sun lowering, casting the mountains in shades of fire and shadow. Night will come soon, bringing stars once more, bringing silence and rest. And as you sit upon the high plateau, listening to the wind, you know that wherever the path leads next, the earth will continue to ask, not harshly, not urgently, but gently, with patience as endless as time itself. Can you walk with wonder? Can you breathe with reverence? Can you live as though every step is part of something sacred? The stars emerge slowly above the mountain plateau, one by one at first, faint glimmers against the darkening sky, and then, all at once, the heavens unfold into brilliance. Countless points of light shimmer above you, each carrying the glow of distant suns, each reminding you of time that stretches far beyond memory. You sit in the stillness, the cold air brushing against your skin, the snow reflecting faint light, and you feel as though the earth has carried you here, not simply to climb higher, but to see more clearly. The silence of the mountains is vast and complete, broken only by the steady sound of the wind. Yet within that silence, you hear something deeper, something that feels like a question without words, a reminder without demand. Perhaps the earth is asking if we can recognize the miracle of simply being here, beneath these stars, held by this ground, breathing this air that connects us to every living thing. As you remain beneath the night sky, your breath slow and even, you notice how the stars seem to drift ever so slightly, their positions shifting as the earth turns beneath them. Time is moving, always moving, yet here it feels gentle, like a river flowing not toward an end, but simply toward continuation. You let your eyes trace the constellations, patterns drawn by ancient minds, stories whispered across generations. Those stories are echoes of people who too looked upward, wondering, dreaming, listening. The earth has always been beneath them, just as it is beneath you now, steady and patient, carrying all questions without needing to answer them. Perhaps the test is not whether we find the answers, but whether we can keep wondering, whether we can hold the mystery close without needing to solve it. Sleep comes gently beneath this sky, and when you wake again, dawn is rising once more. The light spills across the snowy peaks, painting them in shades of rose and gold. The air is crisp, the kind that fills your lungs with sharp clarity. You rise and begin to descend from the high plateau, your path winding down along cliffs and through narrow passes. Snow gives way to stone, stone gives way to soil, and soon green begins to return, first as hardy grasses, then as shrubs, and then as forests once more. The rhythm of descent is steady, like a slow return, and with each step the air grows warmer, the sounds of life more abundant. Birds call from treetops, streams gurgle over rocks, and the earth feels alive in a new way, vibrant, abundant, fertile. The forest into which you enter is dense, its canopy high and interwoven, allowing only shafts of sunlight to filter through in glowing beams. The air is humid, rich with the scent of earth and leaves, alive with the hum of countless insects, the calls of hidden animals. Vines drape from branches, roots twist across the ground, and flowers bloom in sudden bursts of color against the green. Here, life feels overwhelming, layered and interdependent, each plant and creature part of a vast and unseen balance. As you walk slowly, you notice how everything here seems to thrive, not in isolation, but in connection. Nothing stands alone. Everything is part of something else. Perhaps this is another question the earth is asking, whether we, too, can live as part of a whole, whether we can see our lives not as separate threads but as part of a single woven fabric. Deep within the forest, you hear water again, this time not a rushing river but the steady roar of something greater. Following the sound, you come upon a waterfall cascading from a high cliff, its water crashing into a pool below with endless strength. Mist rises around it, catching sunlight and scattering rainbows into the air. You stand at its edge, feeling the spray upon your skin, listening to the endless voice of water in motion. The power here is undeniable, yet it is not destructive. It is constant, rhythmic, purposeful. The waterfall is not fighting the stone, but shaping it, wearing it smooth, creating new forms over time. Perhaps the earth is asking whether we, too, can live with such balance, whether we can be strong without destroying, whether we can endure, not through resistance, but through harmony. You sit for a time near the waterfall, the sound wrapping around you like a blanket, steady and calming. Then, when you rise again, you follow the river that flows from it, winding deeper into the forest. The canopy opens slightly as you walk, revealing patches of sky, and in one clearing you find a sight both strange and beautiful. Trees older than any you have seen, towering so high their tops are lost in mist, their trunks wide enough that a circle of people would be needed to embrace them. Moss covers their roots, ferns grow in their shadows, and the air around them feels hushed, reverent. You approach slowly, aware that these giants have stood for centuries, perhaps even longer, holding within them the memory of countless seasons, countless lives. Standing before them, you feel the weight of time in a new way, not the sharp carving, of canyons, not the patient flow of rivers, but the living accumulation of growth, of endurance. Perhaps the earth is asking here whether we can honor longevity, whether we can respect that which has endured quietly, steadily, without need for recognition. As night returns to the forest, it brings with it a symphony of sounds. Frogs call from hidden pools, insects sing in countless pitches, and nocturnal creatures move softly through the undergrowth. The air is thick with life, every sound a reminder of unseen activity. You lie beneath the canopy, the stars hidden now by branches, and let the chorus wash over you. It is not silence, yet it is soothing in its own way, a reminder that peace does not always mean quiet, that balance can exist even within great activity. Sleep comes gently, woven into the rhythm of the forest's night. When morning arrives again, it brings with it a new clarity. Sunlight pierces through the canopy, illuminating the forest floor in shifting patterns of gold. You rise and continue your path, eventually finding yourself leaving the dense growth behind. The trees thin, the air grows drier, and soon you step out into open grasslands, stretching wide beneath a brilliant blue sky. The grasses ripple like waves in the wind, dotted with wildflowers and scattered with herds of animals, moving gracefully across the plain. Their presence is quiet yet powerful, each step in rhythm with the land, each life a part of the greater whole. You walk among them, unnoticed, as though you are simply another part of this vast living expanse. The horizon seems endless here, the sky meeting the earth in a perfect line that shifts as you walk. The openness is both humbling and freeing, reminding you that space itself is a gift, that not all things must be filled or built upon. You pause to breathe deeply, the air warm and dry, the scent of grass and soil rising with the wind. Perhaps the earth is asking here whether we can embrace simplicity, whether we can find peace, not in abundance but in openness, in the freedom of space unclaimed. As evening comes, the plains glow with golden light, and the herds move slowly toward water, their silhouettes graceful against the horizon. The first stars appear once more, faint at first, then brightening as the sky deepens into night. You lie upon the grass, the earth firm beneath you, and watch as the constellations return. The night here is vast, unbroken by trees or mountains, the stars sharp and clear, as though the sky itself is closer. You feel the earth turning gently beneath you, carrying you onward through time, and sleep finds you once again, soft and steady beneath the infinite expanse. When dawn rises over the plains, it is sudden and brilliant, the sun lifting quickly into a sky washed clean of clouds. You rise and walk onward, following a faint path that leads you toward distant hills. The grasslands fade as you climb, the ground becoming rockier, the air cooler. Soon you enter a region of rolling highlands, where streams cut through valleys, and wildflowers bloom among stones. The landscape feels quiet, almost meditative, as though asking for reflection rather than discovery. You walk slowly, noticing the way each detail, the curve of a hill, the bend of a stream, the way light touches stone feels deliberate, as though placed with intention. Perhaps the earth is asking here whether we can see beauty, not only in grandeur but in subtlety, whether we can find wonder in the smallest details of the world. Night falls upon the highlands with a serenity unlike any you have felt before. The air is cool, the wind gentle, and the sky vast and filled with stars. You sit upon a rock, gazing upward, and feel as though the earth has carried you here to remind you of something simple yet profound, that life is not about reaching an end, but about walking the path, step by step, with eyes open and heart awake. The test, perhaps, is not one of success or failure, but of presence, of whether we can be here fully, in each moment, alive to the wonder around us. The morning in the highlands unfolds gently, the sky a pale canvas slowly brushed with light. The sun climbs over the hills in silence, and dew shimmers across the grasses, each droplet catching the glow like tiny jewels scattered across the earth. You rise from where you had rested, your body unhurried, your steps steady, and the cool air fills your lungs as if inviting you to carry on slowly, without rush, without expectation. The land seems to whisper that there is no need for haste, that the path itself is enough, and that every moment along it carries meaning simply because it exists. As you continue across the rolling terrain, you find the land shifting once more. The soft hills give way to rocky ridges, and in the distance, you notice a glimmer, not of stone or sky, but of water. Approaching slowly, you discover a vast lake spread wide within the embrace of the highlands. Its surface is still, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity, so that you cannot tell where the water ends and the heavens begin. You step closer, and the air around it feels cooler, hushed, as though the lake holds a secret. You kneel at its edge, watching ripples spread outward when you touch the surface with your hand, and you see how even the smallest gesture creates patterns that stretch beyond what you can follow. Perhaps the earth is asking here whether we can see how our smallest choices extend outward too, touching lives we may never know, shaping ripples that move beyond our sight. You linger beside the lake for hours, resting in its stillness, feeling your own breath begin to mirror its calm rhythm. When you finally stand, you walk along its shore, where reeds sway gently in the wind, and waterbirds lift gracefully into the air. The sound of their wings stirs the silence, reminding you of movement, of change, of the way life rises and falls like waves upon the surface. The earth's questions feel softer here, less demanding, more like an invitation to notice, to feel, to remain aware of connection. As you leave the lake behind, the land begins to shift once more, sloping downward into valleys greener and warmer. Streams trickle along narrow paths, wildflowers bloom in abundance, and soon you find yourself surrounded by orchards of trees heavy with fruit. The air is fragrant, sweet with ripeness, and the sight of such abundance feels almost like a gift offered freely, without demand. You pause beneath the branches, reaching for a piece of fruit, its skin warm from the sun, and when you taste it, the flavor bursts gently, rich and alive. You realize how the earth provides endlessly, season after season, cycle after cycle, not as a reward but simply because that is its way. Perhaps the test is not whether we can take, but whether we can receive with gratitude, whether we can recognize the gift without assuming it was owed. Moving further, the orchards thin and give way to open fields, golden with grain that sways in the breeze like waves of the sea. The sound of the wind moving through the stalks is soft and rhythmic, a whispering that carries across the land. You walk among them, feeling the brush of plants against your hands, and you think of how these fields are the result of both Earth's generosity and human care, a harmony of nature and effort. It is here, perhaps, that the earth asks whether we can be not only takers but also caretakers, partners in the endless cycle of giving and receiving. As evening settles over the fields, the horizon glows with the last warmth of the sun, and fireflies begin to dance in the twilight. Their lights flicker softly, like stars drawn down to the grass, blinking in patterns too subtle to follow. You lie upon the earth, watching them rise and fall, their glow a reminder that beauty often appears in the quietest, smallest places. The earth, in this moment, seems to ask whether we can find joy not only in the grand or the vast, but in the fleeting spark of a single light, here and gone within the night. Sleep carries you gently among the whispering fields, and when you wake again, dawn is already spreading pale across the sky. You rise and continue onward, and soon the land shifts yet again, the soil giving way to stone, the air becoming dry and hot, hills become harsher, vegetation sparse, and before long you find yourself stepping into the edge of a desert, its vast sands stretching endlessly before you. The horizon shimmers with heat, and the silence here is immense, deeper than any you have known. Each step is slow, deliberate, the sand shifting beneath your feet, and the weight of the sun presses down from above. Yet, within this emptiness, you begin to sense something profound. The desert strips away distraction, offering no abundance, no shelter, no sound. What remains is pure presence, a clarity so sharp that it feels as though the earth itself is asking the most essential question: can we be content with nothing but being, with no adornment, no possession, no story but the breath we take in this moment? At night, the desert transforms, the heat fades, the air cools, and the stars blaze across the sky with unmatched brilliance. You lie upon the sand, the earth still, warm beneath you, and the heavens stretch infinite above. In this silence, you feel how small you are, yet how inseparable from everything. Perhaps the earth is asking here whether we can embrace both truths at once, that we are but a fleeting moment, and yet we are also part of something boundless, woven into the fabric of the whole. Days pass in the desert, each one a meditation, on endurance, on simplicity, on presence. When at last you leave its sands, you find yourself arriving at the edge of the sea. The sight is overwhelming after so much barrenness, the endless blue stretching to the horizon, waves rising and falling in ceaseless rhythm, the sound of water a constant lullaby. You stand at the shore, the foam rushing around your feet, and the salt air fills your lungs with sharp freshness. The sea feels alive, vast and untamed, a reminder that life itself is both gentle and powerful. The earth's question here feels like a wave itself. Do we resist the tides, or do we learn to move with them, to let the rhythm guide us rather than fight against it? You walk along the shore for days, the sound of waves never ceasing, the horizon always shifting. Sometimes the sea is calm, its surface glassy, reflecting the sky. Sometimes it is wild, crashing with thunderous strength, its power undeniable. Yet always it moves, always it breathes, as though reminding you that change itself is the constant. Perhaps the earth is asking whether we can accept impermanence, whether we can find peace not in holding still, but in flowing, always flowing. At night, upon the beach, you rest beside the tide, the sand cool beneath you, the stars mirrored in the water. The sound of the ocean lulls you into dreams that feel endless, waves carrying you into sleep as though into eternity. And when morning returns, it brings with it the steady light of a rising sun, golden across the sea, promising continuation, promising renewal. The journey stretches onward, and each step reveals new questions, new reminders. Mountains, forests, plains, deserts, seas, all different, all vast, yet all whispering the same quiet truth, that earth is not testing us with punishments or rewards, but with invitations, invitations to notice, to honor, to live gently, to remember that every place, every creature, every moment is part of the whole. The test is not something we pass or fail, it is something we live, breath by breath, step by step, moment by moment, with openness, with care, with presence. The days upon your path begin to blend together, not as if forgotten, but as if each step has become part of a single long breath. The landscapes shift, the skies change, but through it all there is the steady rhythm of walking, of breathing, of simply being. The earth has shown you mountains and rivers, valleys and deserts, orchards and seas. And with each new horizon came another question, another invitation to pause, to see, to feel. Now, as the journey draws near, its quiet close, you find yourself less concerned with where you are going, and more content simply to be within the unfolding of the path. Ahead lies a meadow bathed in soft golden light, the grasses tall and swaying gently in the late afternoon breeze. Wildflowers scatter themselves across the field, their colors muted by distance, yet still carrying the quiet joy of existence. You step into the meadow slowly, each movement stirring the air with a hush, as though you are entering a place meant for reverence. The earth beneath your feet feels soft, forgiving, almost as though it has been waiting for you to arrive. You find yourself drawn to the very center, where the grasses open into a small circle of stillness. And there you pause. You lower yourself to the ground, feeling the earth cradle you. The scent of soil and flowers mingling in the air, the sound of insects buzzing like faint whispers of life all around. The sky stretches vast above, its blue slowly fading toward dusk, and you breathe deeply, noticing how your own chest rises and falls in harmony with the world. For a long time, you simply sit in silence, and it feels enough. Perhaps this is the final question the earth has been asking all along, not whether we can climb, or endure, or seek, but whether we can simply rest within its arms, without striving, without needing more than this moment. As twilight deepens, the first stars begin to appear, delicate and patient, their light flickering gently above the meadow. You lie back upon the grass, watching them multiply across the sky, until the heavens are filled with their countless sparks. It feels as though the stars have been waiting, too, waiting for the stillness, for the moment when you would finally pause long enough to notice them in their fullness. The night gathers around you softly, wrapping you in a blanket of cool air, and you feel yourself beginning to drift, not into sleep exactly, but into a state beyond waking, beyond effort. The earth's voice feels softer now, almost imperceptible, not a question but a presence. It does not ask for answers, it does not ask for proof, it does not demand anything. It only offers itself, endlessly, as it always has. And you realize that perhaps the idea of a test was never meant to be a challenge at all, but a reminder that every sunrise, every river, Every breeze through the grass is part of a lesson too vast to capture in words, too gentle to be measured in success or failure. As you rest there, thoughts dissolve into the rhythm of your breathing, into the distant song of nightbirds, into the sigh of the wind across the meadow. You feel yourself growing lighter, as though the boundaries of your body are softening, merging with the earth beneath you, the air around you, the stars above. You are not apart from the world, you are within it, of it, always have been. Perhaps that is the final truth, the final gift, the final lesson. The night deepens, and dreams gather close, weaving themselves with the grass, the stars, the silence. You no longer need to search, no longer need to question. You have walked far, seen much, listened deeply, and now you are simply here, in the heart of the earth, in the heart of yourself. The test is complete, not because you passed or failed, but because you lived it, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. The stars turn slowly overhead, and the meadow holds you gently, endlessly patient. You close your eyes, and the earth whispers not with words, but with presence. You are safe, you are part of the whole. You can rest, and so the journey fades into stillness, into peace, into sleep.